Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
Need to know what Jeff Angels' program. Just watched a video yesterday celebrating Disney. They're now 100 years old, and they brought back a lot of their most iconic animated voices to record a video, and it was really cool to watch. Now, here is what is interesting about Disney turning 100. They are about to lose control, that is copyright control, of some of their most iconic characters. Now, we've already seen a slasher movie with Winnie the Pooh. It's called Blood and Honey. So are we going to do we're going to have a Minnie Mouse version of Fatal Attraction before long? Here's the patent professor, John Riziv, to talk it over with me. John's back on the Davison Family Dentistry Newsmaker line. So, John, how goofy could things get with Disney losing their copyright on some of their iconic characters?
Yeah, well, it certainly can, and it's not. And we're not talking about something expiring way in the future. I've heard a couple people say, yeah, but that's not till next year.
Yeah.
But it's on January 1st, 2024. So that's 6 weeks away. And when you say iconic characters, what could be more iconic than the original Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse?
Right.
That version they still use before a lot of their films. They'll have in their ads. It's, for a lot of people, that's the version of Mickey Mouse that they envision, not the updated white glove, red short version. So this is a big deal.
And I wonder about it, John, because what it makes me think of is I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan, and you know that the creator refused to copyright Calvin, and he just shows up everywhere, in the back windows of cars, all kinds of emblems, doing different things. And so Disney's battening down the hatches, aren't they? I mean, as of January 1, can you do practically anything you want with these characters?
Yeah, so the copyright's expiring. There's some limits on what you can do. The trademark is not.
Okay.
So if what you're doing confuses the public into thinking that it's Disney that's doing it, then you could get into trouble. They could say you're confusing consumers. They believe that if, say, you put out a product with Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie version,
right,
if it appears that it's a Disney product, then you might not be violating their copyright because that would have been expired, but then you're misleading consumers. But the real worry that Disney has is not the usage that is nice, clean, good usage that fits their brand image and confuses consumers. It's the stuff that everybody's going to know this can't possibly be Disney. Like, nobody thought the Winnie the Pooh slasher film Blood and Honey was somehow a Disney movie, but it still harms the brand. It still harms the Winnie the Pooh brand, and that's the real concern they have or should have with the original Steamboat Willie version. Now, I'm sure after January 1st, if they haven't already, they're going to minimize any usage of that version so that people only relate to the white glove, red shorts version. But this is a short-lived attempt to maximize their rights, because that version of Mickey Mouse, in fact, that's the last version. All versions are expiring on January 1st, 2036. So that's not a lot of time. That's a little over a dozen years from now that you're going to have both versions gone. The Steamboat Willie version's gone in 6 weeks.
And that's where you're talking about, when you talk about the damage to the brand, John, what I immediately think of, and this is why I keep referencing, and you do too, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie, it becomes harder to sell cuddly stuffed Mickey Mouses if he's killing people in a slasher film, right? And there's just not that much that they can do about it once those copyrights expire.
Yeah, 100%. You've nailed the issue completely. And so far, a lot of people are talking about the horror aspects and the slasher aspects of Winnie the Pooh, because that's what we've seen with this other character.
Right.
But once the copyrights expire, there's no restriction even on things going in the porn direction, and that's a completely different segment that Disney's going to have to worry about with their brand image that goes beyond just slasher and horror films, because that's something we've already seen.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, though, John. Like you said, you clearly have to tell people, it has to be very apparent to people that it's not associated with Disney. So would it be a defensive tactic by Disney to sue and take people to court and constantly question whether or not they were clear enough in making sure this wasn't Disney, particularly if a porn film comes out? Do you take the chance and just sue over that and say maybe we can win some lawsuits at this point?
Yeah, so Disney's had, and a lot of large companies, I mean, we've seen it recently with, in fact, like a completely different field, but Taco Bell opposing the trademark for Taco Tuesday and going after even smaller mom-and-pop restaurants. And it's, so sometimes if you have the funds, you have the money, there is a bit of bullying that's a possibility, and Disney has always been very vigilant in enforcing their intellectual property. So there's certainly they could bring suits. Ultimately, if the lawsuit goes all the way through trial, because the copyrights expired, they may not win in court. But maybe that's not their game plan. Maybe the game plan is just intimidation and deterring people from trying to use it.
He is the patent professor. And by the way, John recently wrote a blog post on this. What's next? A feral Mickey Mouse. John Riziv is the patent professor. John, fascinating topic and kind of a heads up on what we might see next year out of the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse. Thanks very much for talking with me.